Hey there, happy Friday, it's me Victor. I'm going to do the weekly recap for the YouTube channel and the blog. This past week has been an absolute blast. Today was an absolute blast. We have WIMI has gone full-blown supernova, and I'll talk about it in a minute, but overall let's go over the two trades which I took this past week. And again, I'm not trading as much as I wish I am, simply because I do have a full-time job. Again, I'm not making any excuses. I know that I could work around that, but again, I'm not saying you can't. I just don't like trading from my phone, okay? And yes, today I had an opportunity to buy the stock at $10, but I didn't pull the trigger, okay? This is so simple. Of course, nobody really knew this was going to go to the freaking 20s, okay? The long-term chart, the news is solid on this one play. I mean, it's positive news overall. Again, you always want to put stock into overall context, okay? Always ask, why is it up? And today it had positive news. I'm not really sure what they do, but it's great news, okay? Don't make fun of me. But I assure you, the stock did not go from the high or from the low of freaking. It didn't go to the high of, what was the high? High of 23 because of the news? No. It's simply a short squeeze, okay? Understand what a short squeeze is and understand how to trade them, all right? Now, the higher the better this goes, because eventually this will come down, but for sure, never say it can't go higher, alright? And understand that Friday is a very special day in the market, okay? It's not rocket science here, okay? Everything I'm saying I got from Tim Sykes, my teacher. And as you can see here, I was trying to short this. I'm not going to be a hypocrite. I tried to short, of course, I wasn't trying to short two shares. I was just seeing if E-Trade had shares to short, and they didn't. But I was trying to short it in the 1156 range, because I was like, oh my, I thought this was up too much, okay? And thankfully E-Trade did not have shares to short, because I likely would have lost a lot of money. But well, of course not really if I would have cut a loss quickly. But overall, this is going to show you the market has been on fire lately, and keeping it simple works best. I mean, a reclaim of VWAP throughout the day, all right? When it have a nice base, has higher lows, reclaim of VWAP. Now, of course, I'm not going to sit here and tell you if I would have bought this, I would have held the entire way. No, like I mentioned, you never really know in the moment how far these can go, okay? You only just trade your process and focus on taking the meat in the move. And sometimes you're going to leave a lot on the table, but again, there's always going to be more plays down the road, all right? And your goal as a trader is, once more, to minimize your losses and to maximize your gains, all right? And I should have went long here at $10. There's no reason why I just bitched out, quite frankly. This is as simple as it gets. High of day break, buying the breakout over the long-term high, all right? And I had my finger on the buy button, but I just didn't pull the trigger. And that's something I'm working on. I know that you can't hesitate before putting on a trade, because if you're hesitating, that is a lack of edge. That's a lack of confidence within your trading. And the fact that this one stock was creating higher lows into power hour was a major sign of strength. And congrats to all those who banked. Now, I'm not saying I would have held the entire way if I bought at 10. No, I probably would have wimped out, because I'm not great at longs right now. I'm not great at anything. I'm losing. As I mentioned, overall, I'm down roughly $1,000 in my total trading portfolio. But I'm not saying I would have held the entire way. No, I probably would have sold, likely, who knows where. But I have a calculator. I probably would have sold like a little bitch too soon. But who cares? Monday, this can be a top watch for anything. I'm not trying to predict what's going to happen. This can easily go higher. It can easily gap up. The higher the better, because this is going to be a nice first red day short eventually. But again, never say it can't go higher. I mean, if you don't want to short, again, you don't want to pre-exhaust yourself on the front end of the move. And you don't really know how high these can go. So don't try to find the exact top. Just wait for the first red day. Keep it simple. Simplicity works best. But overall, two trades this past week. As I can show you here, overall nothing here really to get excited about. Overall down $81. And again, once more, I'm not trading a lot. Okay. Now that will change as I go on. I mean, I know no one really watches these, but I just like to do them because I like talking about stocks and the things I went over. All right. But two trades. Let's go over them. I have a recap over each of them, but let's go over the gist. Solo This one, I was on the right track. As I mentioned, I was shorting this right after, well, you can't really see it. I'm not sure why you can't see it here. Well, when was it? I'll go to my E-trade. Solo, it was this day right here. Shorting it into the close, as I mentioned. Again, I don't use Thinkorswim as a broker. I just like their charting. I'm used to it. But yeah. But I was shorting the bounce right after the first hard crack, as I mentioned. I like shorting into bounces after the first hard crack, and shorting into a bounce would have worked great on one stock today, which I'll go over. But overall, I wimped out on this one, as I mentioned. I covered too soon. I covered out of emotion. I covered because of boredom, and I shorted at an average of 510. And again, I said in the recap, my risk was a previous perk, the high of 530, and my risk level was never breached, and that cost me a great trade. Overall, yes, it was a profit of what, $22, but again, I don't go into any stock to make that dollar amount. That's something I did wrong. And yes, it did have a nice revamp, but I was at work the entire day these days, and so far it's kind of holding against gains. You know what's going to happen. I mean, understand something, that I don't trade stocks when they're mid-range. Okay, it's mid-range. Okay, it's in a channel between what, call it a channel of ideally what, $4 and high of 460. That's just not me. I don't like trading mid-range. I like stocks that are spiking and create volatility. But that one was that one, small loss. And the next one I want to go over is MOGU. MOGU, which was a great one overall. This one was another one that I kind of wimped out on. As I mentioned in a solo recap, I was aiming to short this into the balances right here, but quite frankly, I never got that fill, so I waited for the next day. After the first gap down, it was a nice overextended gap down pattern, and as you can see here, I shorted as it was revamping on the red day. It was right into this mess right here. If I can show you that, it was right here after the first nice gap down. It's a nice overextended gap down pattern, and ideally the time to short would be into the morning spike towards red green, but quite frankly, again, I was at work. Sorry about that. But as I was saying, yeah, the ideal play on these overextended gap down patterns is waiting for the first morning spike towards red green. Like for instance, I'm gonna give you an example. For instance, WIMI. Okay, this is a nice short squeeze. Understand with a short squeeze that this is not lasting. Now, I'm not saying it can't go higher. Okay, always put into overall context here. But what everyone's going to be waiting for is the gap down play. And when it has a nice overextended gap down pattern, that is a great time to short into any excessive morning spike towards the previous close. And understand that it's a strategy that I'm learning. I'm not a master of it yet. I'm just saying what I see. But the odds say this stock will gap up. I mean, the way it's closing, okay, the volume is massive. Who knows? But ideally next week, just watch for a gap down, okay? Because that's going to be a trend change. And understand, whenever a gap down, that's really the first time that longs have a reason to sell, and they're going to be selling into any spike. And it's all about back holders, okay? And we'll see. I'm not saying this again. I'm not saying any of these stocks are garbage. I'm just judging the price action here, and we'll see what happens. But the higher the better on this one. But back on MOGU, I was shorting into the bounce after the gap down, as I was saying. If I can show you right here, and not the great average. I mean, I shorted this while I was on lunch, and that's something that I really don't like, because I was shorting one midday, and I was shorting, I wouldn't say out of FOMO. I mean, I had a game plan. I had an entry, shorting at the high of 460, risking 475, the previous perk, and as you can see here, I did cover. Well, I was risking 475, I said that. And I just shorted, I guess, too soon, if you want to say that. And again, with shorting, timing is everything. But overall, this one was a great cover. I mean, overall, it was a loss of roughly $104. But again, in hindsight, the next day, this managed to gap up and have a nice ramp. So again, whenever your thesis is busted, get out. Because I could have held this stock, I could have added, and I don't like to add when I'm wrong. I like to add when I'm in the money, because there's a common saying that losers average losers, and that's true to some extent. I'm not saying you can't scale into your position, but with a small account like mine, I really don't like scaling. I typically go when I see the trade I like, I go all at once. That's my opinion. But do what you want, okay? I'm not a financial advisor. But overall, that's really it for the past week. Only 2 trades. And for next week, I will be at work primarily the entire week. And again, if you don't know who I am, I do work for a restaurant, Black's Barbecue, and right now it's kind of hectic because we're in the midst of coronavirus sector with the coronavirus pandemic, and I work in the shipping department, and we have been busy as hell. And I'm not going to be in front of the screens the entire week. Well, I'm not going to be in front of the screens for a while, okay? And that's fine. And ideally, I'll look to trade if I do have a get off early. Like today, I got off early. But understand, I don't need to trade, okay? Only focus on what I'm good at. And quite frankly, it is going to be rough because I do prefer the mornings. That's when the stocks are most volatile. But I'm not going to whine about it. I mean, I'm here. I have money in the account. Just every week I get paid, I just put more money in. But other than that, if you have any questions, leave them below. I'm going to post this one first. Then I did happen to record WIMI as it broke out past 10. Great breakout. Please watch the level 2. But other than that, next week, just focus on what I'm good at. Again, likely won't trade as much or at all. But if you have any questions, leave them below, and I'll see you next week.